In case you were curious, here's my tea brewing. Got a nice big kettle, 100 count box, so I used one row. About 30 tea bags. Kettle's about half full. Let it get nice and dark, and then I'll pour it in on the rawhide. Okay, we're back to the dyeing tank. I've got my rusty water poured in there on the 2 hides that have been pickled for 3 days. And then you saw the kettle on the stove here. I just threw some water in a stainless steel pot and 30 Lipton tea bags. I've used coffee to dye the hides before, but I threw the coffee grounds in with the hides and they ended up being gritty and they felt like they were dirty. There was no way to rinse off all the little bits of grit, so this time it made sense to use tea bags. I threw some ice cubes in there. You want to be able to touch this water and not have it too hot, removing it from the stove before it goes in with your deer hides, because you most certainly don't want to cook them. So I think the reason this water looks really red is we have red clay soil here on Maui, and I used a bunch of horseshoes, refilled the horseshoe bucket there so you can kind of see them through the water. Rusty iron works really good to dye the tank, but the reason it looks red is there's probably some red dirt off of those horseshoes. The other thing I will admit is these hides were only in the lime bucket for 1 day instead of 2, so there's some spots where the hair remover was a little more stubborn. Won't notice it as much because these are going to get dyed black, but from now on I think I'm going to go ahead and leave my hides in that tank until the hair slips easily everywhere. It was a lot less work when I left them in a second day. So I'm going to use 2 hands to lift this kettle and pour it in. And I'll have to do a video in a couple days. We'll check on the color of these things. When the rawhide is wet, it's always going to look a little bit opaque. And then when it, so you can get it to dye down to a dark brown and not be satisfied that it looks black, but when it dries out, it'll look really black. So I'm content with the amount of liquid that's in here. And we'll leave them in the bucket a couple days and check on the color. Here's some of my favorite resources. Got magazine subscriptions in the back. 2 books by Bruce Grant. His encyclopedia is the best. I just didn't have it handy to show you. And then Matt Richards' Deerskins to Buckskins. I highly recommend watching his video, even if you rent it from smartflix.com. It's been 24 hours since these hides went into the tank. The color is kind of splotchy. So you definitely want to move your hides around in the dyeing bucket pretty often, you know, once or twice a day if you're going to be leaving them in here for a couple days. So just wanted to show you the color incrementally as they go. So I'll be checking on them once each morning, and we'll watch the progression as they get darker and darker. Okay, I skipped day 2, and now we've got day 3 of the rawhide in the dye tank. Any place that there was an air bubble, you can, you know, or some, I think some dirt up against the grain where the hair was a little stubborn to come out. Those places don't want to dye quite as readily. But all in all, this is moving along nicely, and I think I'll keep it in the solution at least 2 more days. Over here we have just a natural rawhide. This is what you get if you leave the deer hide in the lime solution for only 1 day instead of 2. There were some hair spots that were stubborn to come out, so hopefully the next one I string up will be a little bit whiter. And my frame is just 2 2x4x8s cut at the 5-foot mark. So you've got 3 feet across the top and 5 feet along the side, and for an axis deer it's just right. The strand I use to string up the hide is clothesline, and I really like clothesline because it's very flexible and basically a plastic tubing. Nothing sticks to it. It stays pretty clean and sterile, glides through the holes easily, and it's easy to tie and untie. Okay, so here's 2 different deer hides. There's one of the black ones that when I strung it up to dry, it didn't turn out completely black. It got pale in the stretchy flank and belly areas, and then right out near the edge it got black. This one is not translucent because I didn't pickle it. It's kind of got a cloudy, opaque, golden color to it. They both want to stay rolled up because they've been stored rolled up. But in order to get a jet black color in the future, I think I'm going to use coffee instead of tea, as much rusty iron water as I can get my hands on, and instead of staying in the bath only 4 days, which this one did, I'm going to go for more like a week, because I've had success getting completely black rawhide in the past. So I just was impatient and took this out a little too soon.